It's not like to please African women, they deserve it. In every single struggle that happened on the African soil, African women responded present. It go back to even in pre-colonial Africa. If you look just in pre-colonial Africa, you have examples of women fighting in Ivory Coast by 1945, when their husbands were put in jail. The same thing happened in Ghana by 1929, happened in Nigeria with the Igbo women. The same thing happened in Kenya with the Kikuyu women during the Mau Mau fight. But even before the Mau Mau fight, going back to 1905, the same thing happened in Algeria. The same thing happened in Senegal. The same thing happened in South Africa. The same thing happened in Zimbabwe. In every single African country, if you dig in their history, you will see women have been participating in the struggle since the beginning, way before colonization, going back to pre-colonial Africa, right? Going back to ancient Africa, right? Then this is not a matter of pleasing them. It's a matter of accepting to recognize the role of these African women, the role these African women play in our societies, and allow them to get back and be able to play that same role they have been playing in ancient Africa through in ancient time in Africa to today.
Thank you so much for that. In fact, that is a question. How do we get more women involved in contemporary African history? Because we need them to be there. Of course, the number, like you said, okay, it's true that we talk of the percentage, how many women are there, yes, but I'm saying, how can we get them to be real participants in that? You don't just make the decision because you don't have any other choice. They need to make the decision like, this is what I want to say. How can we get them to be in that position?
It's kind of like African women are there, who participated are there. What we can say, like, what we should do is like, as scholars, historians, political scientists, everybody in every field of scholarship, for people to be more interested in the role these African women played and bring it out. You see, and at the same time, avoid to get trapped in these Western paradigms where everything has to be explained through a Western ideology or a Western way of thinking. That's what we need to do. Get out of those boxes and talk and allow these African women and allow the unheard voices to be heard. That's what needs to be done. And it's going to start with, yes, African intellectuals or African academia, scholarship, and all that. To do that, to be interested in those ones, but also push over time our governments to invest, right, for scholars to be able to dig out these histories and showcase the role these African women played. It's like everybody has a role to play. As journalists, you yourself, as educator yourself, it's important also you keep inviting other Africans who are writing or talking or investigating in topics related to what these women have been doing. You see, for example, why not organize a whole debate about how President Johnson run Liberia and what she was able to do in Liberia in compare to the previous presidents of Liberia. Because whatever happened in the case of Liberia, at least she was able to allow a democratic transition to happen, right? Think about it, especially in West Africa, where you see how many West African presidents have been making changes in their constitutions to maintain themselves in power. And she did not do that. As soon she finished her second mandate, she left. She did not try to manipulate. When Look what happened in Ivory Coast. Look what happened in Guinea. People talking about something like that might happen in Senegal. Nobody know yet. You see what I'm saying? Look what is happening in Mali, right? Look what is happening in Chad. You see, at least her, she was not interested. She showed at least she was not interested in power the way these West African leaders are so interested in power. She did what she promised to do, right? At least she respected the Constitution. And when she finished her turn, she left peacefully and continued to work for her country. That's a very good example that, like, not only many African males should follow, African leaders should follow.
And this is what we are talking about. And I'm sure somebody is listening, because these people really, they are there. We can see them. We're not like trying to bring people from the sky. The people to solve the problem, they're already there. We just need to give them the chance to do it, both men and women. All right, so I want to thank you, Dr. Aliou. You see, we spent a lot of time here looking at issue that really concerns us. Now, we are about the end of it, and I want you to tell us, because we are looking at the role of women in Guinea-Bissau situation, but also in Africa in general. Say maybe somebody come to listen to this video and want to say, okay, so what lesson do I take home from here? So if you were to draw out a lesson, maybe 2 or 3, from what you have learned from these women, because you have interviewed some of them, you have had a chance to talk to them, what would be your 3 most important lessons from their participation?
First, I'm going to say what Cabral said. You can't develop a country when you keep half of the country as second-class citizens. Women should be allowed to show and exploit their full power in order for us to be able to develop our continent. That's the first thing. And without knowing, every African man might be gender biased, and at the individual level, everybody has to do something to recognize no man is better than any woman, and play it genuinely to allow women, right, to develop fully. The same chances, the same way we try to make sure our African boys go to school, right? That same way we force ourselves and allow our African daughters to be able to go to school and exploit their full potential. You see, that's what I see. And this is not about doing something to please the women. That's allowing African women to get back to where they used to be prior to colonization. You see, that's what we need to do. That's how and what will help us to develop our continent. That's kind of like what I learned through this, because these Bissau-Guinean female fighters show me whatever a man can do, they can do it. Whatever a Bissau-Guinean man was doing during those wars, they did it. But man has to accept to allow them to play the full role. African women are so peaceful, so good, right? So knowledgeable, right? That, like, it's in our continent benefit to allow them to play fully their role.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. This has been really a full lecture, and I really benefited a lot from it. And I think our audience too have benefited a lot from the conversation with Dr. Aliou. Yes, this is the message, and I hope all of you have gotten it. I don't have anything to add to it because you really did say it all. I just want to thank you. Thanks to all of you that have accompanied us to the end of this podcast.
And I really
Yeah. Please
Yeah,
say
I
something.
said, thank you very much for having me, and I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.